Hello guys, welcome back to Chris Flies Planes. Chris here of course, and today we are back in Kerbal Space Program for episode 2 of our Let's Play. In our last episode we killed Jebediah, unfortunately. A lot of you guys I'm sure will be very sad about that and angry at me perhaps. But we still have Valentina Kerman, the female pilot, and we are ready to go today. We made some great progress in our research and development, so we have a few new parts we can use. I do want to see if we can upgrade the launch, whatever this is, the tracking station today. Not quite, we are very, very close, but we can upgrade that. Okay, anyway, let's have a look at making some more money so we can do this a little bit quicker here. So this is the Snowden Mark II. This rocket actually performed pretty nicely, but we are going to check it out and we're going to start again here. So we are going to grab a radial mount parachute and 2 radial mount droid parachutes. We are going to grab a service bay. I said in the last episode, we're going to ensure this rocket is much more symmetrical, and this is how we are going to do it. So let's have a look here. We are going to stick 2 of... I'd rather you weren't upside down, guys. I'm going to stick 2 of these goo guys in here. I'm going to stick... I don't think these really matter too much if they're not symmetrical. So I'm going to stick... let's put 1 of these there. So that is the thermometer, of course. And we are going to put the barometer... there. And finally we're going to put the Kerbal engineering system. It doesn't actually really matter where it goes, though there probably doesn't look like a great decision. Can I just rotate that ways? Just anywhere would be great. There, no. Can I stick it to the roof here? Oh, I can stick it to the roof here. Like, there, looks perfect to me. Let's get that close. That is our little science and electricity bay there. We are going to stick a heat shield on, along with a stacked coupler there. And then we are going to crack on, let's put on, so I'm going to put on, just for now, 3 of these guys. A swivel liquid fuel engine. I'm pretty sure swivel used to be like an insult in primary school for some reason. I'm not 100% sure why or what that meant. But yeah, swivel. There we go. Sorry if that offends any of you 8-year-olds. Let's stick another swivel engine on there, and I think that is us pretty set. As always, I'm just going to look through the parts and see if there's any glaring omissions. Everything looks pretty great there. Let's just check our crew situation. We are not going to allow that to be piloted by Bill Kerman. He is an engineer, not a pilot. Valentina Kerman is going to be going up in that. Let's save this one as the Snowden Mark III, and let's go to our launch pad. Okay, let's walk through our little checklist here. Staging, we've got rocket decoupler, and our 2 parachutes. Our parachutes are set up correctly. Just remember to fire them. Okay, SAS can go on. We're going to throttle up to, let's throttle up to 100% actually. We can see our delta V is currently 2,258 meters per second, which I believe might just about be enough to get us into orbit. It's going to be a close one though. Valentina is looking very comfortable, and I think we're pretty much good to go here. So 3, 2, 1, and launch. We're going to push up to about 100 meters a second, and we're going to start our gravity turn. We have a gimbling rocket, gimbling engine on this rocket, so hopefully we'll have a little bit of control. You can see I didn't bother with aerodynamic fins. Hopefully that will not be a mistake. Start our gravity turn here. No point fighting gravity, which is why we do this. And yeah, this rocket seems very, very controllable. I'm pretty happy with this. We're just going to keep it turning over. And I'm not sure we're going to have enough delta V to get into space, into orbit, sorry, but we're certainly going to go into space again and hopefully collect some science. Stage 1. It's always good between staging. I'm going to actually throttle down to 2/3. It's always good between staging just to give it a second to stabilise, and before you launch your next engine, just a little tip there. If you don't want to do the old front flip, which I've done many times, it is still possible to get into orbit having done a front flip, but it's definitely not the most fuel efficient way of doing it. And fuel efficiency is exceptionally important in this game, as you're going to find out. It's very easy to hit point of diminishing returns by adding fuel tank after fuel tank after fuel tank, and just realising that, you know what, it's not actually helping you get into orbit, it's just making your craft heavier. Okay, that is us above 70,000 on the Apoapsis. So we are now going to roll her over to line up the horizon here and prepare ourselves for our circularization burn. How much delta V do we have? We have 974 meters per second of delta V. I don't think it's going to be enough. So on our next go, we're probably just going to strap some solid rocket boosters to the outside of this rocket just to help it on its initial burn through the thick atmosphere. We are about 1 minute from the apoapsis. We're going to burn at 30 seconds away from the apoapsis. We're going to jump out into the map view here as I find this easier. And what we're going to do is we're going to throttle her up at around 30 seconds. And our goal is going to be to keep ourselves about the same distance away from the apoapsis. We do not want it going too far away from us. We definitely do not want it going too far behind us. I'm just going to do that by messing around with the angle of our burn. Let's just pull our fuel up. Yeah, we are definitely going to run out of fuel. So we didn't get particularly close to circularizing our orbit there, though I think we did quite a good job. I'd say this is a pretty great third flight, or fourth flight, I can't remember which. Let's decouple away from that stage there. Let's open our service bay and let's do some experiments. So there's a little bit of science to be found in that mystery goo. I might launch the other one when we are down a little bit closer to Kerbin. Let's log the pressure. There's no science to be gained there, so let's discard that. Oh, sorry, that was the barometric pressure. And let's do the same with temperature. Once again, no science. So those can be completed when we are down in the atmosphere. I don't think we've done a pressure and temperature reading from the atmosphere yet, so hopefully that'll get us a little bit of extra science. And let's warp ourselves down to the planet again. Again, I'm going to take SAS off and let this aircraft orient itself. I am going to close the service bay doors, however. And hopefully Valentina looks like she's having an absolute whale of a time. And we did stop warping. I was wondering why things were going a little bit slowly there. So we're going to spin as we're out of the atmosphere here, but as we get into the heavier air, we should start to orient ourselves. We're going to kind of orient ourselves prograde if we can. Okay, I'm going to take her out of warp and just make sure we are oriented prograde here. Okay, let's take SAS off now. We're stable. There we go. We're through the atmosphere and slowed down. Let's launch our parachutes. Should see the drogues fire. Slow our speed right down here. And it just ensures that when our main parachute fires, it doesn't jerk off the... that was a very rude phrase, I'm sorry about that. It doesn't tug up... No. I can't really think how to word this. You're just going to have to put your adult listening ears on for a moment. It doesn't jerk off the spacecraft and kill Valentina. That's what I was going to say. Apologies if that offends anyone. Actually, no apologies if that offends you. Right, let's cut our radial drogues off here. And we're going to splash down in a couple of seconds. And let's recover that vessel. Okay, I would say that was a very successful third flight. What did we learn? We need a little bit more Delta V. What's the best way to do that? Solid rocket boosters. Let's just strap them out to the outside. Okay, so let's jump in here. And it's going to be a very, very simple change we're going to make today. We're going to strap on a couple of these radial decouplers. Let's stick on a couple of hammer SRBs. I'm going to move these radial decouplers down, actually. So let's stick on a couple of the hammer SRBs. There we go. Let's get some aerodynamic cones on those. And also, for the sake of safety, I do want to put a couple of winglets on here. How are they looking? So let's actually do that, and let's... I'm not quite happy with that. Kerbal Space Program is definitely one of those games which rewards you for being a little bit anal. Believe it or not, spaceflight is actually a little bit finicky. Okay, that is looking pretty great. I would say that looks pretty beautiful. Let's check our staging. So we've got 2 solid rocket fuel boosters for 2 radial boosters. The main rocket, decouple, rocket, decouple, parachute. Everything's looking pretty great. You can see our delta V is now up to 3,500 meters per second. That is definitely enough to get into orbit. It just means that if we don't, it's because I've screwed up. We have too many parts on our vessel. How many parts do we have on our vessel? Do we have 31 parts on our vessel? Is that actually what we've done here? Yeah, I think we actually do. So let's get rid of one of the radial parachutes and let's launch. Oh, we're slightly too heavy as well. Let's remove a fuel tank and launch. Okay, so we definitely need to do some upgrades when we have the money to do so, because the part and weight limit are pretty prohibitive to start with. But we're looking pretty great here. I'm going to throttle her up to 2/3. We're going to put SAS on. Let's check our staging one more time. So the main rockets will fire, the radial decouplers will fire, then the swivel rocket, decouple, rocket, and 2 parachutes. 1 parachute, 1 parachute. Okay. I'm sure that's going to be okay. Yeah, I'm sure that'll be fine. Let's just open the service bay, and I'm actually going to do some science from the launch pad. There's 2.7 science there. There's 2.2 science there. And 3.2 science there. It's a little bit of science, but every little helps. Let's get our SAS on. We are throttled up to 2/3, I'd say. And I think we're looking pretty great. So 3, 2, 1, and launch. So these solid rocket boosters, they're just going to do the initial hard work of getting us through this really heavy, thick air down towards the sea level at Kerbal. I'm going to try and start putting her over into a turn now. We don't have a lot of control over it, but once we get these done, we can start our gravity turn properly. You can see this is a very sedate launch, but that's good. You know, you don't want to be getting too much speed in the lower atmosphere because you're just going to waste it trying to push through the air. So I'm feeling pretty confident here. Hell, I always feel confident. I felt confident when I killed Jebediah, so my confidence means nothing. But I do think this flight is going particularly well. I do believe we should get into orbit on this attempt. As I said before, the only reason we won't get into orbit is because of my incompetence. So, fingers crossed. Okay, so that leaves us with 1,444 meters a second of delta V to circularize this orbit. I do believe that is probably going to be more than enough. though I can't quite remember the actual Delta V requirements to get into orbit, and obviously they change anyway. But I'm feeling pretty confident. Let's just get the map, the camera view right. Let's get the map view right here, and we can start fast forwarding ourselves to get towards that apoapsis point. Let's pop back out into the map view. We're going to do the same as before, so we're going to launch, we're going to start our burn 30 seconds from apoapsis, and our goal is going to be to try and keep that apoapsis around equidistant from us. Let's pull our fuel up. Looks like we're going to be close, but not quite there. What did I say about my confidence? But nonetheless, we are extremely close. I'm feeling pretty happy about that. There's very little to gain here by doing science, I think. So let's just eject that stage there, roll ourselves over, and head back down to the planet. So what can we do differently there? I don't know is the honest question. We obviously need to be a little bit more efficient with our fuel usage. But aside from that, yeah, I'm not actually 100% sure what we can do aside from more Delta V. I don't really want to put more Delta V on. We are going to be coming down over ocean, which is great news. But to be honest, on Earth there's so much ocean, you have to be pretty unlucky to hit land, I think. Let's get our parachute launched. And splash down. There we go. Let's recover that vessel. Nonetheless, another successful flight. Valentina is back at home with her family, relaxing. We got a little bit of science. We hopefully got a little bit of money back. And yeah, not a terrible effort. We gained 12.4 science, which is actually pretty great. Let's pop over to research and development and see if we can afford any of these. We cannot afford any of those. Let's jump in and let's have a play. Let's do some experimenting here. I'm going to actually... Some of you guys are going to think I'm crazy, and you're probably right. We're going to go down to 4 fuel tanks rather than 3. Which is going to reduce our Delta V down to 3,000. It's also going to substantially reduce our weight. And I want to see what kind of difference this makes. Hopefully it's going to increase the effectiveness of the solid rocket booster stage, and you never know, we might actually end up doing better than before. Let's just check our staging. So we've got the 2 solid rocket boosters, decouplers, rocket, decoupler, parachute. Perfect. SAS is on, throttle is up, and I think we are good to go. You can see we are punching through this lower atmosphere extremely quickly. We're going to start a gravity turn straight away. I'm holding full right on the yaw just to try and lean this craft over as much as possible. I'm going to go a lot more aggressive on the gravity turn this time, just to try and squeeze every little bit of efficiency out of this spacecraft. And again, this is just an experiment. I want to see if reducing the weight of the top 2 stages is going to make an appreciable enough difference so that fuel was basically negligible. I didn't actually check the periapsis height. So basically, I'm terrible at science. But we've only got 300 meters less delta V than when we did the last launch, and actually our periapsis height is already higher than it was. So you never know. We might actually be onto something here. So let's just get our map set up correctly here. Let's fast forward to our apoapsis point. There we go, and let's burn. And let's just see how we do here. You know what, I would say that's basically exactly the same, but we use less fuel, which is interesting. Very interesting, in fact. So what I want to do is, let's just, first of all, before we start talking about our next mission, let's ensure that Valentina is going to get home once again to her family. So let's just fast forward our way through this. I don't think there's any science to be gained, so I'm not even going to bother trying. But yeah, I'm pretty confident there, but we basically achieved the same orbit, if not slightly better, with actually less fuel there, which leads me to believe that we need to worry more about that first stage and not about that third and second stage. So what I'm going to do is, with the weight gain, the weight saving, sorry, by reducing that fuel, is I'm going to strap another solid rocket booster on, or maybe some heavier, some bigger solid rocket boosters. And we are going to see if we can't get ourselves into orbit. Let's get that parachute out. See ourselves slowing down rapidly. Let's just switch SAS off here. Craft is definitely able to orient itself now. And there we go. That was an experimental flight, but a very eye-opening one at that. So what I'm going to try... Actually, we're not going to try anything today. It's the end of the episode, guys. I really hope you enjoyed watching. If you did, please leave a comment below. If you didn't enjoy watching, leave me a comment below. Thank you, and fly safe.